The Galactic Council chamber was cold and quiet. Alara Miles stood alone in the center of the vast hall. She was Earth's only representative. Around her, hundreds of alien delegates watched from raised platforms. Some floated in orbs of light, others sat in chairs shaped like thrones, and many stared with expressionless faces. Each platform belonged to a different species, each one older, stronger, or more advanced than humans. Alara wore the deep blue uniform of the Earth delegation. Her dark hair was pulled back, her boots polished, and her hands clasped behind her back. Her face was calm, but her mind raced. She had trained for this moment all her life. Still, nothing could prepare her for what was about to happen. At the top of the chamber, on the highest platform, stood Chancellor Valazor. He was tall, with pale, glassy skin, and 6 long fingers on each hand. His eyes were like silver coins, flat and cold. He belonged to the Centauri, one of the oldest and most powerful species in the galaxy. He spoke, and his voice echoed across the chamber. Let the record show that Earth has violated 3 Council regulations in the last cycle. Their mining colonies in Sector 8 have expanded beyond agreed borders. Their ships have entered restricted space, and their leadership has refused to comply with cultural preservation laws. Whispers rippled through the chamber. Some delegates nodded. Others looked bored. 1 or 2 glanced at Alara with sympathy. Valazor raised a hand, and silence returned. As Chancellor, I propose a motion that Earth be declared a subordinate species, effective immediately. All trade privileges suspended. Voting rights revoked. Military activities limited. Alara stepped forward. Honorable Council, she said, her voice steady. Earth has made mistakes, but we have corrected them. The mining expansion was stopped. The restricted space entry was an error. An automated probe with no weapons. And the cultural issue was a misunderstanding, not refusal. Valazor didn't blink. Earth is reckless, emotional, unpredictable. That is the Council's concern. Alara took a breath. We are new, but we are not weak. We learn fast. We adapt, and we have always followed the Council's rules after being made aware of them. A delegate from the Avenari, a bird-like species, clicked its beak. Humans do not think before they act. Another from the Tharn coalition added, their potential is high, but so is their risk. Alara's voice rose slightly. Potential is not something to fear. It's something to guide. We came here to be equals, not servants. Valazor lowered his hand. Let the vote begin. 1 by 1, platforms lit up. Green for support, red for against, red, 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 red. Alara counted them in silence. Out of 137 votes, only 22 supported Earth. The chamber dimmed. The decision was made. Earth, Valazor said, is now a subordinate world under galactic law. Effective immediately. Alara stood still. She didn't flinch. She didn't speak. Her heart sank. But her face showed nothing. The session ended. The platforms dimmed. Delegates began to float or walk away. Some didn't even look at her. Others avoided her gaze. A few paused, hesitated, as if they regretted their vote. But no one spoke to her. Alara turned and walked out of the chamber alone. Outside, on the wide bridge connecting the Council building to the Earth Embassy, her assistant waited. They did it, he said softly. She nodded. Yes, what now? Alara looked out at the stars. Orbitus Prime hung in space like a giant black pearl, surrounded by ships from 100 worlds. Somewhere far away, Earth spun quietly, unaware of what had just happened. We don't give up, she said. We push back, with words, with proof, with everything we've got. Against the Council. No, she said. Against the lie that we don't belong. She walked toward the embassy, her steps calm but firm. The fight had just begun. The Earth Embassy on Orbitus Prime was quiet. It stood on the far edge of the Council city, surrounded by taller, brighter alien embassies. Its walls were made of steel and glass. clean but plain. Inside the lights were dim, and the halls were almost empty. Alara sat in the strategy room, staring at a large screen. A red map glowed in front of her. It showed Earth's shrinking access to space routes, cut off one by one after the Council's vote. Rajan, her assistant, stood nearby with a tablet in his hands. His eyes moved across the data. 3 more trade partners just canceled their agreements with us, he said. They don't want to anger the Council. Alara didn't reply. Her eyes stayed on the map. And there's more, Rajan added. Centauri ships were seen near our mining colony in Proxima 4. They say it's for observation, but that's a lie. They're already preparing to take control, Alara said quietly. She stood and walked to the window. Outside, the city buzzed with alien traffic. Hovercrafts, transport ships, and glowing drones moved across the skyline. Orbitus Prime was always busy, but now it felt distant and cold. Alara turned back to Rajan. We need allies. He frowned. Who would risk standing with us now? Anyone who's afraid they're next. Later that day, Alara entered a private lounge reserved for informal diplomatic talks. It was smaller than the council chamber but still grand. Smooth metal walls curved around soft chairs and glowing tables. The room was empty except for one figure waiting for her. Ambassador Lurok of the Drell. The Drell were a quiet, thoughtful species. Their skin was dark green and leathery, and their voices were deep and calm. Lurok was older, with a long scar down one side of his face. He stood as Alara entered and gave a respectful nod. You are bold to ask for this meeting, he said. I'm bold because we have no other choice, Alara replied. They sat. Lurok folded his hands and listened. You know what the council did to us, she said. But it won't stop with Earth. Velazor is setting a new standard, one based on fear and control. Lurok nodded slowly. There are whispers. Smaller worlds worry they may be judged next, but most are afraid to speak. I'm not asking you to speak, Alara said. Not yet. I'm asking you to listen, and to watch what happens next. Lurok's eyes narrowed slightly. Do you have a plan? Not yet, she admitted. But I'm working on one, and when the time comes I'll need your voice. Lurok was quiet for a long time. Then he stood. You humans are loud, he said, a small smile forming. But sometimes the loudest cry reveals the deepest wound. I will watch Ambassador Miles. That much, I promise. As he left, Alara felt a flicker of hope. It wasn't an alliance, but it was something. That night, in the embassy's data room, Rajan called her over. The room was dark, lit only by the soft blue glow of screens. I think I found something, he said. He showed her a list of votes from past council decisions. I tracked the votes on smaller planets, he explained. Over the past year, many have been blocked from trade deals or had laws passed against them. The pattern is too exact. Someone's guiding these moves. Alara leaned in. Velazor, Rajan nodded. Or someone close to him. They stared at the screen. A slow, quiet realization settled over them. This isn't just about Earth, Alara said. It's a power shift. He's targeting the weaker worlds first, testing how far he can go. She straightened up. Then we'll be the first to fight back. She tapped the screen. Let's find out what he's hiding. The embassy's lights were dimmed. Most of the staff had gone to sleep. But in the lower levels, behind a locked door, Alara and Rajan worked in silence. A large screen showed pages of data scrolling fast, lines of alien code, vote logs, encrypted communications. Everything Rajan had pulled from the council's public archive. We won't find anything here, Alara said after a while. Velazor's too careful. I know, Rajan replied, eyes still scanning. That's why I'm not looking for what he wrote. I'm looking for what he deleted. He tapped quickly. See this? Council vote records from 6 cycles ago. There's a gap exactly 42 seconds missing. That doesn't happen by mistake. Alara leaned closer. What happened during that time? I don't know, but I can find out. Over the next 2 days they worked in shifts. Rajan sifted through code while Alara met quietly with ambassadors. She shared what little she could. Most offered only polite words. But a few, like Lurok of the Drell, started asking questions of their own. In the data room, Rajan finally found a lead. "There's a backdoor in the system," he told Alara. "I can use it to access restricted files, but I'll need to break through council-level encryption." She hesitated. "That's a crime under galactic law." Rajan looked at her. "So is manipulating council votes." Alara nodded once. "Do it." That night, Alara couldn't sleep. She walked the quiet halls of the embassy, thinking about Earth, her home. She remembered being a girl, watching the first starship launch on the news. She remembered the pride, the joy, the belief that humanity was stepping into something greater. Now they were being told they didn't belong. She stopped at the window. Out in the black sky, the stars shimmered like scattered diamonds. Somewhere among them, her people waited for answers. She would give them one. By morning Rajan had it. He showed her a secret file labeled Directive X4, Emergency Control Protocol. "It's real," he said. "Velorzor wrote this. It's a private order to create legal traps for new species, especially ones like Earth." Alara read the document. It described how the Council could pass quiet laws that only affected certain planets. The laws were buried in other bills. When a planet broke one, even unknowingly, the Council could declare punishment without needing a full investigation. "This is how they did it," she said. "They made us look reckless, but they planned it from the start." "There's more," Rajan said. "I traced the files to a location in the Council's central server. The real records, the ones they're hiding, are there." Alara stared at the screen. "We need to get in." Rajan looked unsure. "You want to break into the Council's central database?" "That's impossible." "Nothing's impossible," she said. "Just difficult." The next day, Alara visited an old contact, Nira Sul, a former cyber operative from the Tharn Coalition. Nira was retired, living quietly in a station orbiting one of Orbitus Prime's smaller moons. She had short gray hair, sharp eyes, and a mind like a blade. "You want my help to break into the Council mainframe?" Nira asked, raising an eyebrow. "Yes," Alara said. "And I have proof of corruption. I need the full records." Nira smiled. "I always liked humans. You never stop swinging." She leaned back in her chair. "I'll need 20 hours. And a favor." Alara nodded. "Done." Back at the embassy, Alara prepared for what came next. If the Council found out, they could revoke Earth's place in the galaxy completely. She could be arrested, sent to exile, or worse. But she wasn't afraid. For the first time since the vote, she felt like they had a real chance. Not through war, not through fear, through truth. The proof was real. Directive X4 and the hidden files confirmed everything. Velorzor had designed laws that targeted Earth and other young species. He used his power to twist rules and guide votes. The Council had been manipulated. Alara stood before the large screen in the Earth Embassy, the secret files open in front of her. Rajan and Nira were beside her. The air was heavy with silence. "This is enough to challenge him," Rajan said. "But if we go public, we need the Council to listen." "They won't," Nira replied. "Not unless you force them to." Alara tapped her fingers on the console. She thought carefully. Then she looked up. "There's one way," she said. "An ancient rule, buried in the old Council charter." That afternoon, Alara stood once again in the Galactic Council chamber. Her voice echoed across the curved walls. "I invoke trial by merit," she said. The words shocked the room. Delegates turned to each other in confusion. The chamber filled with whispers. Velorzor's eyes narrowed. "That law has not been used in over 300 cycles. It no longer applies." Alara stood tall. "It was never removed. According to Council law, if a species is declared subordinate, they may request a trial to prove their worth, not with weapons, not with politics, but with skill, knowledge, and ethics." The Council clerk, an AI entity shaped like a silver cube, floated forward and confirmed it. "The law exists. It may be honored if a majority of delegates agree." One by one, votes lit up. Many were red, but enough turned green. The trial was approved. Velorzor gave Alara a cold smile. Very well, let your people play their game. When they fail, there will be no more debate. 3 days later, the first trial began. It was held in the Council's test arena, a massive dome filled with simulation chambers. Each challenge was designed to test different values: intelligence, creativity, leadership, and morality. The first test was strategy. Alara worked with a small team of Earth scientists, engineers, and a military tactician. The challenge: design a solution to a simulated crisis where a colony faced extinction from a failing power system and a toxic leak. Other species used advanced tech and brute force. Alara's team found a different way. They used local materials in the simulation to build a power loop and filtered the toxin using nanobot patterns inspired by Earth insects. Their solution took longer, but it saved every life in the scenario. Judges awarded Earth top marks for innovation and preservation of life. The second trial was diplomacy. Alara was placed in a room with actors playing hostile alien leaders. She had to negotiate peace between 3 warring factions. She listened first, carefully. Then she offered each side something they valued: respect, understanding, and room to grow. When the scenario ended, the actors admitted they were impressed. Humans, one said, are stubborn, but honest. The third trial was the hardest. It was a test of character. Alara and 2 Earth team members were placed in a simulation where a disaster struck a small outpost. Time was running out. In the chaos, 1 alien team member became trapped under debris. Saving them would risk failing the trial. Rajan yelled, "We'll lose the points." Alara didn't hesitate. "Then we lose the points." She and Rajan pulled the trapped delegate to safety with seconds to spare. They failed the mission but won the respect of the observers. Lurak of the Drell stood during the council review and said, "Some pass tests, others show who they truly are." Today, Earth did both. Back at the embassy, Alara sat with Rajan and Nira. 2 trials left, Rajan said. Nira nodded. "But the council is watching. You're changing minds." Alara looked out at the stars once again. They were still far from victory, but they were no longer alone. The final trial was about unity. The challenge was simple on the surface. Each team had to build a working system that combined parts from 5 different alien technologies, systems that didn't normally work together. It was a test of cooperation, understanding, and adaptability. Most teams struggled. Some refused to work with others. Some argued. Others made progress, but their systems failed due to clashing components. Alara's team took a different path. Instead of rushing, they paused. They reached out to the other teams, not to compete, but to learn. They asked questions. They listened. They invited others to test their ideas together. By the 3rd hour, 6 species had joined them. The simulation chamber filled with shared work: Earth engineers beside insectoid coders, human scientists discussing design with glowing orb-like beings. For the first time, the trial space was not a battlefield. It was a workshop. Their system came online just before the time limit. A clean, stable structure of energy and motion, built by many hands and minds. The council watched in silence. One of the judges, an ancient being with crystal skin, said, "This is what the council was meant to be." But the trial wasn't over. As the final scores were being calculated, alarms rang out. A glitch? No. A deliberate failure had triggered a false emergency in the simulation system. 1 chamber lost power. The force field failed. Inside one of the other teams, a group of scholars from the fragile aquatic world of Malura was trapped. Toxic fumes from the test gas began to leak. They couldn't breathe the air. Without waiting, Alara ran toward the chamber. Rajan shouted behind her, "It's not real. It's still a test." Alara didn't stop. She forced the chamber door open and rushed inside. The fumes burned her eyes, but she grabbed the Maluran translator and helped them to their feet. Together they reached the exit. 2 other delegates helped pull the rest of the Maluran team to safety. Outside the chamber, a medic confirmed the gas wasn't lethal, but it had triggered real panic. Everyone turned to Alara. She coughed and blinked through the haze. If it was real, she said, would we have passed for letting them die? Silence. Then slow, respectful applause from several platforms. Even delegates who had voted against Earth began to nod. That night, as Alara recovered in the embassy, Rajan brought news. They caught someone, he said. A Centauri agent. He caused the simulation failure. Under Veilzor's orders. Alara sat up straight. You're sure? Rajan nodded. Nira confirmed it. We have his message logs. Veilzor tried to sabotage the trial. Alara stood, her voice quiet but firm. Then it's time. The next morning, the council chamber was full. Delegates from every corner of the galaxy had come to hear the final ruling. The trial by merit was complete. Veilzor sat on his high platform, silent and still. Alara stepped into the center. We passed your tests, she said. Not because we are the strongest, not because we are perfect, but because we listened, we learned, and we acted with heart. She held up a data chip. And we also found this. Proof that Chancellor Veilzor broke your own laws. He planted traps. He used fear. He tried to break us. The clerk AI took the chip. Council security scanned the contents. As the data displayed on the chamber walls, shock spread. Even those loyal to Veilzor turned away. He rose, eyes flashing. You dare accuse me? You accused yourself, Alara said. Calm, we just showed the truth. A vote was called. This time, almost every light turned green. Earth's subordinate status was lifted, full council rights restored, and Veilzor was removed from power. Alara stood still as the lights faded. Her heart beat steady. She didn't smile, not yet. There was still one step left. The council chamber felt different now. The air was still and heavy with silence, but it was no longer cold. There was a quiet respect. Alara stood in the center of the great hall again, just as she had weeks ago. This time, she was not alone. Behind her stood a small group, scientists, engineers, diplomats, and allies from across the galaxy. Drell, Melorens, Avenari, even a Tharn delegate, stood beside Earth's team. The Chancellor's platform was empty. Veilzor was gone. In his place stood an interim chair, a soft-spoken elder from the crystalline world of Lasara. His voice echoed gently. The trial by merit is complete. The Council acknowledges Earth's success in every test, strategy, diplomacy, ethics, and unity. Murmurs of agreement passed through the room. Effective immediately, the elder continued. Earth is reinstated as a full member of the Galactic Council. Lights lit up across the chamber. Green. Dozens of them. No red. Alara exhaled slowly. Her shoulders relaxed, but her expression stayed firm. The elder looked down at her. Do you wish to speak? Alara nodded once and stepped forward. Members of the council, she said, her voice steady and clear. We thank you, not for the vote, but for the chance to prove ourselves. She glanced around the room. Humanity isn't perfect. We make mistakes. We ask questions you don't expect. We speak when others stay silent. But that's not weakness. That's how we grow. She paused. You feared our unpredictability. But that's where our strength lives. We don't give up. We don't back down. And when others fall, we help them rise. Several delegates nodded quietly. We aren't here to dominate. We're here to contribute, to share, to build something better together. She stepped back. Silence followed. Then the entire chamber stood. Not just the delegates, but their assistants, guards, aides, and observers. They stood for Earth. Later that day, Alara walked through the newly reopened Earth Embassy. It was brighter now, full of life and movement. Messages from Earth poured in. Cheers, thanks, pride. Colonies across human space celebrated. Children watched her speech again and again. In the main hall, Rajan met her with a smile. You did it, he said. We did it, she corrected. He handed her a small pin, a silver circle, marked with Earth's symbol. This just came in. You've been asked to join the Council's core advisory. She looked at it, thoughtful. We came here to be heard. Looks like they're finally listening. Rajan smiled. What now? Ilara turned to the large window that looked out into the stars. Ships passed by. Worlds turned. 1,000 voices filled the air. Now, she said, we help shape the galaxy. That evening, she sat alone for a moment on the balcony of the embassy. Stars glittered all around her. She closed her eyes, breathing in the quiet. Humanity had earned its place. Not through power, not through fear, through action, through unity, through courage. She opened her eyes and whispered to herself, smiling softly. This is just the beginning.